can address the journalists.
Okay. Thanks a lot for coming. I'm sure you know what has been happening. You report such things in terms of the case in PE. And we thought we should call this press conference so that Cheryl can respond as to what happens now. I'm sure we are fully aware that the reality is that the case has to start from scratch. And what does that mean for her in terms of her past experiences? So thanks a lot for coming. I will hand over to the chairperson. Over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for making the time to be here today. I'd really just like to take this opportunity to thank you all for coming, for giving the oppressed a voice, because I feel without all of you covering these stories, no one would really care as much about what people like me go through. And so for that, I'm very grateful and thank you. So when I decided to publicly come out about my sexual abuse, psychological oppression, and trauma, choosing to waive my right to remain anonymous, my life changed forever. The thing is, I didn't have to think long and hard about the decision, though, because I had the support of my family, which was all I needed. After years and years of work, I'd come to a point where feeling shame and wanting to hide as if I had done something wrong made no sense to me at all. I was the one who was violated, and so I wanted to reveal my real name and show my face. I had no reason to hide in my head. I was given the choice, and that's what I chose to do. But I must admit that I did underestimate the impact that it would have on my life and on me as a human being. I was oblivious to the fact that the people of our country hadn't seen a rape case in South Africa unfolding in real time, with the actual accuser exposing herself on the stand. I anticipated some hate speech here and there, some naysayers, and some support. Basically, nothing out of the ordinary. But I didn't expect the flood of support that I got. I literally went to bed one night, and the next day, my name was everywhere. When I turned on the radio, the television, I went on social media, my face and my name were just everywhere, and I was not prepared for it. The plan was that I'd go to Port Elizabeth, say my say, and move on with my life as I knew it. Instead, I got to Port Elizabeth as planned, and I was re-traumatized. I got a badgering defense lawyer asking me about centimeters, telling me that I wanted to get raped, and basically making me feel like I was the one on trial. If that wasn't bad enough, I'd been back home for just a few days. Only just a few days, when I was told that there was a hit out on my head for R500,000 because I dared to speak my truth. I had to move out of home and away from my family that was keeping me sane to somewhere safer to avoid imminent death. Luckily for me, Omotoso Kaluva, who's the deputy chair of the Cheryl Zondi Foundation, accommodated me. And she was there for me, on her own account, in her own home, with her family. If it wasn't for her doing that for me, I don't want to think of what could have happened to me. All of this was happening, and the state did absolutely nothing. I had the witness protection program after waiting for them to contact me for weeks, telling me to change my name, move to the middle of nowhere, and drop out of school, reinforcing this lousy victims must hide mentality. Contrary to what was being said, I was never, ever in witness protection because it's a system that just doesn't work, especially for witnesses that are young and are not criminals or criminal informants. I was basically being punished for breaking my silence, and I still am, publicly experiencing what it means to be at the mercy of secondary victimization for the second time, which is what has brought us all here today. The NPA has not yet reached out to me to officially tell me how this recusal is going to affect me. But I do read the news, and the bottom line is that I am likely going to have to start testifying all over again from scratch, as if nothing happened last year. As if I didn't have to write special exams because the trauma I experienced made me incapable of concentration. I couldn't read for a few months. As if I didn't have to spend time away from my family to keep myself alive and to keep them alive. As if I haven't lost enough weight and sleep from all the stress that I've endured from this process. As if basically all of that, all that I've been through, means nothing. The sad and harsh reality is that none of the things that I've mentioned are new. This is what happens in South African courts day in and day out. This matter is just bringing all of that to the fore in broad daylight for everybody to see. Since the Cheryl Zondi Foundation was started, I've engaged with victims who've made my story sound like a walk in the park. Some of them can't even get the police to take down their statements or even give them case numbers. I've dealt with victims that live one street away from their perpetrators. And if the witness protection program isn't working for me, how much worse is it for them? What's happening to them? I came out and made myself a symbol of hope and a role model. All of this I never anticipated. It's something that I'm still getting used to, but I have a responsibility to the nation that has supported me from the beginning. I have a responsibility to live up to the confidence our people have in me and to just keep going. There are people out there that I think about every day, children, young women and men who have been through what I have been through and worse. They're watching and they're waiting to see if I'm going to give up. And I want them to know that I'm not. Giving up is certainly not an option. Yes, I am only human, but that's all I need to be. And that's all anyone who wants to come out needs to be. I want everyone looking up to me to see that it's possible to go through this and move on, to be happy, to be unapologetic, wear what they want, go where they want, be sexual if they want, and just live the way they want. It's possible. Don't allow yourself to be caged in to what society expects a rape victim to be. It was extremely difficult and agonizing for me the first time around, and I certainly expect the process to be even worse and more amplified than it was the first time. The defense lawyer that I was referring to earlier is wanting to have cameras removed from the court. And that just goes to show that these people want to dictate how I tell my story. They want to dictate how victims tell their stories. And that is not on. The story belongs to me. These are the things that are being brought to the fore by this case. And it cannot be justice. These things need to be addressed. If I have to go through secondary victimization all over again to get justice, then so be it. The thing is that I know at the end of the day, the truth is going to trump all these tactics and all of these lies, as always, and it will prevail. I don't care how many times I have to tell the truth or go through the same process over and over again. I will not give up, because this is not just about me or even about this case. It is much bigger than all of us, and it is about justice. So the struggle is going to continue, whether they like it or not. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Cheryl. Yeah. Can we entertain some few questions from members of the media? Please, for the the media house to be present. Can I get an indication of the questions, if any? Seeing the question here, another one here. Okay, let me take the two for now. Okay. Yeah.
Hi.
Can we take the second question? Is that the only question, Ken? Let me take the second.
Do you feel let down by the justice system?
Okay, can we check those?
Okay. To answer your question, I have confidence in the truth. You know, I know my story. I know what's happened. And I know what is going to happen if the person I've spoken out against goes free. So I have confidence in the truth. And I strongly believe that the truth will prevail at the end of the day. Could I please have your question again?
The question is, do you feel let down by the justice system?
It's very difficult to be objective in situations like this. But when you think about it, it's one end against the other. And that's just how things go in the legal system. One side proves their case and the other side proves their case. And that's really all the system has power over. You know, what I have power over is the fact that I can continue telling my story and not back down. I hope I've answered you.
Okay, can you follow up?
I just wanted to follow up. What was your response when you heard of the judge's recusal? Did you feel that he was too protective of you during your time at the trial? Were you nervous with the new judge coming in? How the conduct will be going forward?
When I first heard of the recusal, I was very, obviously I didn't feel good about it at all, because the thought of having to go through this process all over again, you know, having experienced how depleting and tiring it was the first time round. I remember I couldn't even eat that day when I found out. You know, it's very stressful. It's a very stressful position to be in. But I also think about how it's better for it to happen now, while there's still just one person who's come out. I think it would have been a much bigger disaster if there were maybe 10 or 30 people having to start all over again. So in that sense, I suppose it's not the worst thing that could have happened. I just feel that he was being civil. like a human being is civil. I wasn't made to feel appropriate or overly comfortable in any way. I just feel he was being civil. That didn't reflect to me.
I saw some additional hands.
My first question is my second one is that the judge has used to. Did you stay at this accommodation that his wife has shared with him, and that you have interacted with him prior to the trial?
The only place I've seen the judge is in the courtroom. So I never saw him outside of the courtroom.
And where did you stay?
I stayed in a guest house that was arranged by the state. So to my knowledge, I didn't know who it belonged to or anything of that sort.
Now that you know that you will be testifying again all over again, are you emotionally fit and are you ready? You've seen how the defense operates. Are you ready? Are you mentally prepared and emotionally prepared?
I'm not going to lie and say I feel strong all the time or that I feel ready all the time. You know, I am a human being and I am feeling the pressure of this whole process most days. And I have to bring myself towards myself. You know, I get panic attacks, but it has to be done at the end of the day. You know, I can't go to sleep at night knowing that I could be doing something to put a bad guy off the streets and not doing it. So, I don't know, it's just a daily struggle that I try to, I feel that when the time comes, I'll be okay. I'll be fine. I do have people I confide in.
Thank you. Can I just, okay, I see a hand here. Any other question? Yeah, this side and then this side. Yeah, thank you.
Begging my channel's television news. I just want to find out, you now as a human being, as a person, socially, has this whole ordeal affected you socially? And then also religiously, where do you stand now, having been victimized by a person who was a religious figure to you? Where do you stand now religiously and socially?
Socially, Beggy, there have been a lot of adjustments that I've had to make. Just to accommodate where my life is right now. I don't, for safety reasons more than anything, I can't go to certain places that I could go to before. You know, when I walk down the street, I have people coming up to me and, you know, just embracing me, giving me words of encouragement. There's just been basically a whole lot of support socially. Every day, I think, I get at least 1 or 2 messages from people showing their support. That's really encouraging. Religiously, it's taken me years to get to a point where I was able to speak out about what happened to me, more so like publicly. And I did lose my faith along the way, but where I stand now, you know, I do believe in God. I strongly believe in God, as a matter of fact. It's just doing the work of separating God from people or, you know, external forces that misrepresent him and paint him out to be something he's not.
Question this side? Yeah, oh yeah.
You mentioned that you wrote through a lot and what trauma and stress. How are you dealing with that? Like attending any counseling?
I just take every day as it comes, and I try not to put too much pressure on myself because there's enough pressure from the situation and this process. And I do have people that I trust, that I confide in, people that are close to me. And that helps. It helps. You know, talking to people, I think, is a form of counseling as well. So that helps.
Okay. Are we covered? It's like we are covered.
No, nothing to add.
Okay. There's another question.